I feel like this should be a wake-up call to everyone to be more aware of their surroundings and maybe have some compassion for the people that are in these tough spots.
A woman passed out on a commuter train for close to 30 minutes. A Good Samaritan tries to help but is frustrated by the response he gets. It happened a week ago on a C train in Calgary. Kevin Dishner, who's recently moved here from Vancouver, boarded a busy train headed downtown. That's when he found the woman laying on the ground.
Tried to wake her up. She was unresponsive. I couldn't get her to move or do anything. So I went and pressed the switch. There's like the emergency call switch, and let them know that there was someone laying on the platform, in the train, unconscious. And they just told me that they had already been made aware of the situation and to ignore it and not to let anyone else press the button.
He rolled the woman over to make sure she didn't choke to death.
One stop later, the train stopped, and I think it was a transit peace officer came on the train and basically just said that they were aware of the situation. They would send someone to pick her up at City Hall station, and that it was an offense to misuse the button, and to make sure that no one else came up to use it. If I saw anyone wanting to use the call button about the situation, I was to tell them to stop. I guess the weirdest part about it to me was that he didn't even go check on her. Like, he came on, told me not to touch it again, and then left the train without even going to see if she was breathing or anything.
It wasn't until 8 stops later when the woman was finally removed from the train.
I do know that whenever I've seen like something like that in Vancouver, there's a way higher transit police force like on the lines. Like, you can't go anywhere without seeing an officer step on to make sure that everything's okay. Whereas here, I only see an officer maybe once or twice a week.
But perhaps the most disappointing thing for Disher was the fact he seemed to be the only one who cared.
There was a bunch of people on the train when I arrived, and everyone was just pointedly ignoring the situation. So I don't know, the whole thing felt off and really eerie. I would hope if it was me or someone I know lying on the ground that someone would take the time to go and make sure that everything was okay, and that I wouldn't have to lay unconscious for 8 stops before having anyone arrive to do so.
In a statement, Calgary Transit said, "We had already assessed a passenger situation and immediately dispatched appropriate resources. Often it's quicker for our peace officer teams to meet a moving train rather than have the officers in traffic traveling to a stopped train." It went on to say, in this case, our peace officers were able to wake the sleeping passenger and escort them to a nearby shelter and detox center. In Calgary, Jonathan Muma, City News.